Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to, well, staying informed.
That's the goal.
And today, we're taking a really vital plunge into the world of U.S. student visas. It's complex, it's changing fast.
It really is. And this isn't just, about filling out forms.
No, exactly. It's about educational dreams, careers, the future for thousands of international students.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's also about the U.S.'s role in global education.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is simple. Cut through the noise, look at what's been happening lately with policies, and distill the crucial info. We want you to have a really clear picture of what this means for your journey.
That's right. Because the complexity, it isn't just about getting the visa anymore. That was maybe the old way of thinking. Now it's increasingly about the ongoing act of maintaining that status. And there are new, pretty significant challenges popping up almost daily, it feels like. So our goal is to equip you with the knowledge, really, to navigate the shifting environment with confidence. Understanding not just the letter of the law, but, the bigger picture and the potential pitfalls, too.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We probably need to start with the basics, right? The sort of foundational rules for F1 visas.
Definitely.
These have been around a while, but even unintentional slip-ups can have huge consequences. Derail everything.
That's fascinating, actually, because these long-standing rules, they're the absolute baseline for compliance. They're often the silent tripwires.
The tripwires. Okay.
Yeah. The main thing to get is this. An F1 visa isn't something you just get and then forget about. It's an active status. You have to continuously earn it by sticking to the rules, sometimes seemingly minor details.
Right. So it's not like, okay, I'm in, I'm good.
Not at all. That idea is risky now.
So what are these non-negotiables? The bedrock stuff students have to get right.
Well, we can break it down. First off, academic integrity and commitment, that's huge. You must maintain full-time study. Usually that means, 12 credit hours for undergrads?
Yeah, and 9 for grads, typically.
Exactly. And any deviation, like dropping below that, it needs explicit written approval from your DSO, your designated school official.
Right. Can't just decide to take fewer classes.
Absolutely not. Or getting suspended, expelled for academic or disciplinary reasons. That immediately voids your legal right to be here. It's not just about passing grades, it's about making normal progress.
Okay, makes sense. And what about outside the classroom? Employment comes up a lot, I imagine. That must be a tricky area.
Oh, a crucial point. And yes, very tricky. The employment boundaries are incredibly strict.
How strict?
Basically, work is only allowed under very specific conditions. Mostly on-campus jobs, limited hours.
Like 20 hours a week during the semester.
Correct. Or, approved CPT, curricular practical training, or OPT, optional practical training.
Got it.
But the big takeaway, the absolute must remember, never work off-campus, whether you're paid or not, without specific USCIS authorization.
Even unpaid internships.
Even unpaid, if it's not properly authorized CPT, it's seen as illegal employment. That's probably the fastest way to get deported, frankly, regardless of your intentions.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. You mentioned financial proof earlier when getting the visa. Does that continue?
Yes, exactly. That brings us to financial solvency. It's not a one-time thing for the application.
Right.
You have to show you have ongoing, continuous financial ability to fund your studies and your living costs the whole time you're here.
That must be stressful. But if your situation changes?
You need to be proactive, talk to your DSO. And related to that is truthfulness and documentation, absolutely critical.
Meaning?
Never, ever provide false documents or information. Forged admission letters, fake test scores, doctored bank statements, anything like that.
What if they find out later?
Doesn't matter when. If fraud is discovered, even years down the line, your visa can be canceled, you could face serious penalties, maybe even a lifetime ban from the U.S.
Okay, so honesty is paramount. What about some of the maybe less obvious things, the smaller compliance points students might overlook?
Good question. Two big ones fall under just keeping everything current. First, your address.
Right.
You are legally required to update your address in the SEVIS system within 10 days, every single time you move. Fail to do that, it's non-compliance.
10 days, okay.
Second, F2 dependents, like a spouse or child. They also have rules. They can't work without authorization, can't enroll full-time in study. If they violate their status, it can actually impact your F1 status.
Wow, okay, so the whole family has to be careful.
Exactly. Also, changing schools or, say, going from a master's to a PhD, you need to do a timely SEVIS transfer, usually within a 60-day grace period. Delays are bad news.
Right.
And be aware of your course format. If your program suddenly shifts online or becomes part-time without the proper SEVIS update, that could cause issues. Finally, don't overstay. Your I-94 form has an end date, or DS, for duration of status. Overstaying, even by a day past any grace period, can bar you from getting future visas.
Okay, so that covers the sort of established landscape, the rules that have been around.
Right, the baseline.
But what's making everyone nervous now are the new challenges. It feels like the ground is shifting. What are we seeing there?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting and frankly more concerning. We're seeing a clear shift, a fundamental one, towards much greater scrutiny.
How so?
It's driven by new policies, enhanced vetting. This cash and revoke policy is a big example.
Oh, revoke?
Yeah. It used to be, maybe, your visa was your ticket in. Now, it's more like a probationary license. It can be pulled instantly, often without warning, based on old info or perceived issues. We've seen reports, hundreds of students, many from India, having visas canceled, sometimes right at the airport, based on information the government might have had for a while.
And it's not just for big things, right?
Yeah.
I heard about minor stuff causing major problems.
That's a critical point, and it's really unsettling. Yes, visas reportedly revoked for things like traffic violations, even if they happened years ago, maybe settled, and the student had no idea it was still an issue, no warning.
Wow. Traffic tickets?
Potentially. But what's really under the microscope now is political activism.
Okay.
There's a definite focus here. Visas revoked for students involved in, say, pro-Palestinian activism. The justification cited can be potential serious adverse foreign policy consequences.
Can you give an example?
Sure. There was the case of Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish grad student. Detained, faced deportation. Why? Her visa was canceled due to alleged support for Hamas through protests she attended, even while she was actively studying.
And does this scrutiny, this political activism angle, spill over into online activity, social media?
Oh, absolutely. Social media monitoring is pervasive now, aggressive even.
How did that work?
Reports suggest authorities are using AI tools to scan social media, looking for content deemed supportive of banned groups or, hostile to the U.S., its government, culture, whatever.
And it's not just posting things yourself.
No, even things like likes, shares, comments. They're apparently under scrutiny. And get this, new visa applicants. They're now explicitly told to set their social media accounts to public for review.
And if you refuse?
Refusal can lead to your visa application being rejected. It raises huge privacy questions, obviously. It demands extreme caution online.
Yeah, no kidding. Are there also country-specific policies or just broad national security sweeps?
Both, definitely. We've seen revocations based purely on nationality, like for South Sudanese students because their home country wasn't accepting repatriated citizens.
Okay.
But more broadly, yes, if any U.S. security or intelligence agency flags a student as a potential risk for any reason, their visa can be revoked immediately. No court needed.
Just gone.
Gone. And often, the student doesn't even know until they try to travel or re-enter the U.S., then suddenly they're detained, facing deportation.
And the universities, do they know when this happens to their students?
Often no, which makes it incredibly hard for them to provide support, right?
Yeah, a huge challenge.
And it goes further. There's also increased institutional scrutiny now. DHS, ICE, they're auditing school records, SEVIS data much more closely.
Looking for what?
Compliance, but also reports suggest institutions that have seen significant pro-Palestinian protests are facing reviews. They could potentially even lose their certification to enroll international students.
Wow. So it's pressure on the schools, too.
It's multi-layered. Affects individuals, affects the institutions hosting them.
So, okay, pulling back a bit, what does all this mean for you, the student listening, and for international education in the U.S. overall? This feels bigger than just individual visas.
It absolutely is. There are significant broader implications. A major one legal experts and civil liberties groups are talking about is the chilling effect on free speech.
How so, for non-citizens?
Well, technically the First Amendment applies to everyone regarding criminal or civil penalties, but in the immigration context, where the government has so much discretion, it's murky, contested in court.
So students are unsure of their rights.
Exactly, and that uncertainty, it's leading many students to just keep a low profile. They're scared that expressing an opinion, even just liking something online, could risk their status.
So self-censorship.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
Which really impacts the academic freedom universities are supposed to foster.
That's a serious consequence. Are we actually seeing this affect enrollment numbers yet?
We are. The data's already showing a worrying trend. SEVIS data from March 2024 to March 2025 shows an 11% drop year over year in international student enrollments.
11%. That's huge.
It is, and it translates to potentially $4 billion lost in economic impact for the U.S.
Wow.
And what's notable is this decline started before some of these newest really strict policies fully kicked in. So the expectation is, sadly, that it might get worse.
Any specific countries hit hard?
Yeah, India particularly, a huge source of students traditionally. We're seeing a 28% drop in enrollment from India. That's a big reversal from recent growth trends. And it seems linked specifically to a drop, about 20.5% in master's programs.
That really impacts the diversity and talent pool on U.S. campuses.
Absolutely. And it's not just visa scrutiny. Other factors are playing a role too.
Like what?
Well, funding is another big one, especially in science.
Yeah.
Government funding for scientific grad programs has seen massive cuts. Some federal agency budgets slashed dramatically. We're talking billions cut, or percentage reductions in the high double digits for research budgets.
And how does that hit international students?
Directly. Fewer federal grants mean fewer research assistantships. And those assistantships, that's how many international STEM grad students support themselves financially and maintain their status. So fewer funded spots means fewer opportunities.
Right, shrinking the pipeline. And I guess all this leads to legal fights.
Oh, definitely. Lawsuits are being filed, challenging these visa revocations, arguing they violate the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment's due process rights, arguing they're unprecedented, procedurally flawed.
Are there specific cases?
Yeah, cases like Mahmoud Khalil's really highlight these battles, and they also shed light on the often harsh conditions people face if they're detained after a revocation. The legal landscape is shifting, but for the students caught up in it, it's incredibly stressful, expensive.
Okay. This is a lot to take in. It can feel overwhelming.
It can.
But I think the most crucial takeaway here has to be about empowerment, right? Through knowledge, through being proactive.
Exactly. That's the key. Proactive responsibility.
So what are the absolute key actions, the cautions you need to keep top of mind? Let's break it down. Visa interview, port of entry, and then just living day-to-day in the U.S.
Okay. Let's start with the visa interview and port of entry. First, be ready for that enhanced social media screening we talked about.
Right. Assume they'll look?
Assume they might ask. And understand, refusing to make your accounts public if they ask, that could lead to rejection right there. So, make sure your online presence aligns with why you say you're coming to study.
Good advice. What about travel if your visa's expired but your program isn't finished?
Tricky area right now. If your visa stamp is expired, definitely talk to an immigration advisor before you travel outside the U.S. Re-entry could be tough because getting new visa appointments can be difficult. Interviews might be paused.
But if the visa stamp is still valid?
If it's valid, you're generally okay to travel and re-enter. But still, be prepared, have your documents in order. Vigilance is always good.
Okay. And then, once you're actually in the U.S. studying, what are the day-to-day must-dos?
All right. Maintaining your status while in the USA. This is your #1 job continuously.
Job number 1.
Yeah. Know your documents, I-20, passport, visa. Keep them current. Update them immediately if needed.
Like renewing passport.
Exactly. Tell your DSO. Maintain full-time enrollment. Stay in good academic standing. Make normal progress. We covered that.
Right.
The work thing again. On-campus work. Max 20 hours a week during the semester. Off-campus work. Paid or unpaid. Never without proper USCIS authorization. It's illegal. Deportation risk. Cannot stress that enough.
Okay. Crystal clear. What else?
Report changes promptly. Address major passport info if you get a new visa. Name change. Tell your school's international office right away.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Need more time to finish your degree. File for a program extension before your current I-20 expires. Follow the proper steps for transferring schools or changing levels. Keep track of course format changes. And always be ready to show you can financially support yourself.
And the honesty thing again.
Always. Never provide false documents or info at any point. It sounds like a long list, but really staying organized and talking often with your DSO, that's your best defense.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about navigating tricky situations? Like legal trouble or protests, given everything we've discussed about heightened scrutiny?
Yeah, this is where extreme caution is essential. First, the basics. Follow all U.S. laws. Immigration law, obviously, don't overstay.
Right.
But also avoid all criminal activity. And that includes things that seem minor, like traffic violations, DUIs, remember the catch and revoke? Those can trigger visa issues without warning, even years later.
Even old tickets.
Potentially. Also, don't obstruct classes, don't vandalize campus property during protests or otherwise.
What if you do get stopped by police or face legal trouble, like a DUI?
Act fast. Get legal help immediately. You need lawyers experienced in both criminal defense and immigration law. They understand the overlap.
Okay. And know your rights.
Absolutely. You have the right to remain silent. You can literally say, I choose to remain silent. You also have the right to refuse searches of your person or belongings. You can say, I do not consent to a search.
Be polite but firm.
Cooperate respectfully. Don't resist physically, but don't volunteer information or try to talk your way out of it. Don't self-incriminate. Let your lawyer handle it. Your education, your status, it's too valuable.
Understood. And for students thinking about joining protests, especially with the social media monitoring, what's the advice there?
Okay, if you're considering participating in protests or demonstrations, first, be hyper-aware you will likely be photographed or filmed. By police, by others, by media.
And that footage can end up online.
Exactly. And potentially scrutinized by immigration authorities, especially if there's any perception of, say, anti-Semitic activity or support for banned groups. Second, understand that getting arrested, charged, or convicted, even for minor offenses related to a protest, that can severely impact your current visa and your future immigration prospects.
So follow police orders.
Immediately. If law enforcement tells you to stop, to leave an area, do it. Don't argue, don't be disrespectful, don't resist. Avoid creating situations where violence may occur. Just comply to avoid arrest or charges.
Any other considerations?
Yeah, think about how your actions might be viewed back in your home country when you eventually return. And again, if you find yourself in a situation where you might be questioned by police or federal agents related to activism, it is strongly, strongly recommended you consult with an attorney before saying anything.
Don't talk first.
Talk to a lawyer first. The stakes are just too high.
This has been, wow, an incredibly important deep dive, really drilling down into what it takes now to protect your status as an international student in the U.S.
It really is crucial information.
The landscape is, well, it's clearly changing. Staying informed, being proactive, it's not just good advice anymore. It feels like your absolute best defense.
Absolutely. Understanding these rules, these evolving responsibilities, the potential pitfalls, that's key to keeping your educational journey on track. Your vigilance, your proactive approach, really, it will make all the difference. It lets you focus on what you came here for, your studies, your future.
Well said. All the best to you out there navigating this.
Indeed. And we will meet again with another important subject in the next deep dive.